Welcome everyone to It's Finally Mine. I know it's been like 6 months since we did one of these. I can't believe it. Time sure flies, but don't worry not. For those of you who are interested, we will be doing a lot more of these on the back half of the year. So today I decided though to pull one of the early acquisitions I made for my collection of vinyl. And it's related to our podcast, The Spoiler Room. We covered The Lord of the Rings 1978 as our Animation Nation special on the Spoiler Room podcast. You should go check that out. And so I figured, why not pull from my collection the original motion picture soundtrack to Lord of the Rings 1978 by the classic composer Leonard Rosenman. Now, Rosenman you may be familiar with, and if you're not, shame on you. He did the music for Rebel Without a Cause, Fantastic Voyage. After Lord of the Rings, one of the bigger films later on, he would do as the jazz singer from 1980 and RoboCop 2, and probably one of the more popular and better soundtracks for the Star Trek films. He did the soundtrack to Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, the one with the whales. So yeah, Leonard Rosenman has done a lot of soundtracks, did Planet of the Apes soundtracks, a couple of those movies he did, the later ones as well. So here he's tackling this soundtrack to the animated film from Ralph Bakshi, who directed it. Yeah, we had an interesting discussion about it. It's an interesting film, a little interesting piece in the cinematic history of Lord of the Rings. This soundtrack did get re-released in 2001 on CD with bonus tracks. I don't have that CD. I do have to get that yet. So what we're looking at today, though, is this original 1978 pressing from Fantasy Label Records. It's LOR-1, a 2-disc vinyl LP set that was a special pressing, and it is a gatefold. So yeah, very excited to take a look at this, but enough of me rambling. Let's drop the needle and take a look at the Lord of the Rings 1978 soundtrack from Leonard Rosenman. Now here we have some wonderful art on the cover of this Lord of the Rings etched in stone. I just love that look. The HSL is not part of it. Unfortunately, when I purchased it, it did have the pen marking of HSL, but it's small, hard to notice. So it's unfortunate we have that on here, but the art overall with this release is beautiful. You look at it and you go, yeah, that's Lord of the Rings right there. This kind of feeling of this just legendary story. And that's what pops here with this carving in stone of the title. And then at the top, of course, original motion picture soundtrack, and the bottom composed and conducted by Leonard Rosenman. So yeah, love the cover art. This is actually a wraparound art. We'll show you the back here in a minute. I wish the spine had a little bit better font on it, color at least. They could have put it in white. By putting it black on that gray really doesn't make it stand out, and it makes it hard to see on the shelf. But on the back of it, more wonderful art here in color. We've got a track listing down in the middle here, and the soundtrack was produced by Leonard Rosenman and Saul Azantes. And I've got a little story about him, which we'll give later, about Saul's involvement on this soundtrack. And then we got our track listings 1 and 2 here, side 3 and 4, and some more of the credits involved here. And if you look at this wraparound art, it's pretty slick. It'd make a great poster for sure. So yeah, that is gorgeous art involved here on this. Now, on the inside gatefold, we have more beautiful art. It's interesting. These are some of the better, I think, drawn artistic shots from the film. We have Gandalf and Frodo here. We've got a couple other wonderful artistic stills here. We do have one of the shots that is highly rotoscoped, and we talk about that in the podcast. But we do have this shot here, which actually inspired Peter Jackson, in his Lord of the Rings version, he actually duplicated this shot fairly well in the film, and I really like that in that live action. And again, we've got our track listing again with the times of the tracks, how long each of them are, as well as the production credits down here, and this beautiful, gorgeous art here. So yeah, I mean, this, as far as the physical piece and release of this goes, this is beautiful. You know, it's wonderful to have in here. Now, as far as the vinyl goes, it is not 180 gram, unfortunately, so it is just a little bit thin, but check out the label on this record. They did go all out. Look at that. That is just gorgeous. Right? For a label on a record, for the record label itself, they put even, I think there's even higher detail art there than there is on, you know, on the gatefold. And then we have the other record, which I believe has the same image on it. It's been a little while since I looked at this, but yes, it is the same image here as well. It's still gorgeous. I mean, look at that. I love that font and everything and just the look about it. So yeah, as we always do, we are going to take a short break, and when we come back, I will tell you what my favorite track from this soundtrack is, and a little bit more about the production and what Ralph Bakshi actually wanted from the Lord of the Rings soundtrack when we get back.
Hey everyone, looking for even more content? Then why not head on over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/specialmarkproductions, where we have 3 affordable tiers that will get you access to the conversation before the conversation of the spoiler room, get an exclusive VIP episode each month that you vote for the spoiler room, and you can also get early access to our videos and so much more. So head on over there, because the more we can do there, the more we can do here.
And we are back from listening to this wonderful pressing of the Lord of the Rings 1978 original motion picture score from Leonard Rosenman. What I love about vinyl is if you get the right pressing and you get a vinyl that's been taken care of, it sounds still so good from when it was originally released. And that's what we had here. This pressing, even though it's not 180 gram vinyl, the record still is in very great condition, and that sound, outside of maybe a little bit of a couple of spots where it's got a little bit of a pop in it, for the most part, the pressing still sounds crystal clear. And it is classic Leonard Rosenman. And in fact, if you listen to the tracks on this, you will pick up cues and sections that he would use later on, especially in Star Trek IV. He seems to pick a lighter end of the winds as well as the strings, kind of a lighter tone. Even in the darker stuff, it's still not quite as deep as some other composers. And it's just his style, but really, I liked a lot of this. I loved some of these tracks for sure. The theme for The Lord of the Rings is really great. It's kind of got this almost feeling of a Bridge Over the River Kwai type of feel to it. This kind of march, this dun, 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 dun. It's really playful, you know, kind of representing the hobbits as well from that film in here. And then the track that I do really enjoy though is Helm's Deep. I enjoy that quite a bit. That track is really great, very entertaining. One of the longer tracks that you have in here. And yeah, it just really captures that energy. This is a very kinetic soundtrack. What's interesting is this pressing, when it was released, it only has a little over an hour of music across the 2 records, which, considering the film is like 2 hours and 20 minutes, is kind of why I think they came out with the 2001 CD release with the bonus tracks, because I feel like there was a lot of music missing, music cues and stuff from this. But still, what you get is really good in here. Very classic type feeling. Now, what's interesting is Bakshi didn't exactly want this type of soundtrack to it. He actually wanted to include music from Led Zeppelin, who were huge fans of Lord of the Rings, but Saul, who was the producer, wanted a more orchestral score because he wanted he would not be able to release the band's music on the Fantasy Records label. So as much as Bakshi initially liked this majestic soundtrack, he felt later on in later interviews that Rosenman's score was a little bit too cliche, and I can see that. But even with some of the cliche and sound tropes that are on this soundtrack, it's still a lot of fun to listen to. I really enjoyed it. It stands out on its own. You get some of those dissonant strings in here too that Rosenman has put in his other scores. So yeah, definitely if you're a fan of Leonard Rosenman and you haven't picked this up yet, I suggest it. I like this original pressing from 1978. Still sounds really good. And though I will seek out the CD as well. So there you have it, folks. If you have this in your collection, love to hear your thoughts on this soundtrack and what you think of the music from the film. And thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, bells and whistles and all that here. We got a lot more Vinyl Mind coming up in the next 6 months, so you'll want to stick around. And yeah, until next time, folks, I'll catch you on the flip side. The Lord of the Rings original motion picture soundtrack, it's Vinyl Mind.